Arman Tsarukyan got a dominant win over Dan Hooker and cements himself as the #1 and outright contender for the title shot against Ilia Topuria. Ian Machado Garry does it again, beating Belal Muhammad by unanimous decision and calls for a mega fight with Islam Makhachev. We also look at the other fights on the main card and some of the fights on the prelims of UFC Qatar. Plus, Conor McGregor's had another spiritual awakening, he says, as he's been treated with psychedelics in Mexico. And Gable Steveson wins again as people debate whether he is already a top 5 UFC heavyweight or not. People, sit back, relax. It's MMA Monday Live. Let's get into this. I hope you're well. Please do smash the like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Big up to each and every one of you who've come over from Coppish as well. Boo Rider, Martin, Gary, Mantis, Mizzoni, Scants. Big up yourselves, all of you. Please do smash that like button. If you're also watching on X or Twitch as well, be sure to leave a like on the video. Plus, please do come over to the YouTube channel as well and like the video if you get a chance as well. UFC Qatar, guys. Look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to say it. UFC Qatar, in my opinion, was a better card than the previous week's pay-per-view. Now, I know there were bigger names on the pay-per-view, and the first 3 fights in the main card were brilliant. Like, stoppage. But on the main card for UFC Qatar, stoppage, decision, stoppage. Out of the 6 fights on the main card, 5 of them were finishes, and the fight that went to decision was a very, very entertaining fight as well. I can't say the same for UFC 322. And look, I'm not even one of those who are saying I thought the fight with Valentina and Weili was boring. I'm not even one of those saying the Makhachev fight with JDM was boring. I'm just saying this UFC Qatar card, insanely good. Like, insanely good. There's an argument to say it's been card of the year. Genuine argument to say it's been card of the year. And again, we've had some banger cards this year, but that card was special. If that had been a pay-per-view, I don't think many people would have complained. It probably wouldn't have sold as many because, again, star power and name value on 322. But crazy. But look, let's speak about the main event. Arman Tsarukyan, dominant. And again, I got my prediction wrong. I actually thought that Hooker might catch him with a knee coming through the middle when he goes through his wrestling, or he might be able to keep him at bay with his striking. Arman said, forget all of that. I train with Hamza. Arman Tsarukyan looks sensational. And look, I'm still not against the Paddy Pimblett fight with Topuria, but in terms of meritocracy, in terms of who is genuinely the most deserving at 155 pounds, there are no arguments. It's Arman Tsarukyan. And look, I know Gaethje has said that he'll retire if he doesn't get the next title shot. I know Paddy's saying Ilya signed a contract. It's Arman Tsarukyan is the title challenger. It has to be. If we're going to keep the meritocracy and the dignity of this sport, as much as I think Paddy would sell great numbers with Ilya, as much as I made the case for making the fight, as much as I still would like to see the fight, as much as I wouldn't be upset if the fight got made, just being completely honest with you guys, Arman Tsarukyan is the most deserving challenger for the 155-pound belt. Ilia Topuria's lightweight belt. He's hands down the most deserving. Like any other notion is just, it's wrong. It is just wrong. And he should have got the title. Again, I know we sit here and we go, the fight we missed out on is Islam Makhachev versus Topuria. And I get it. At 155, that was the mega fight. I'm going to be honest with you guys. We missed out on Tsarukyan versus Makhachev at 55. And I know people go, yeah, they fought the first time and Makhachev won. That was Tsarukyan's debut. He was very young then, and he took the fight on very short notice. And he still gave Makhachev trouble. This version of Tsarukyan at 55 would have been an absolute madness to deal with for Makhachev. Now, I'm not sitting there saying Makhachev couldn't have done it. Makhachev is the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world right now. No two ways about that. But I'm going to be real with you guys. I'm just being real with you. There's an argument to say that Makhachev's toughest opponent at 55 would have been Tsarukyan. There's an argument to say Tsarukyan might be a tougher opponent for Makhachev than Ilia Topuria based on his style. Arman hits hard. His wrestling's great. His scrambling and jiu-jitsu defending. Like, we saw him get out of a guillotine from Charles Oliveira, but Dan Hooker caught him in guillotines and goodness me. Goodness me. Like, he was just phenomenal, man. He really, really was phenomenal. And shout out to Dan Hooker, gave it his all, but Arman was just on another level. And then Ian Machado Garry in the co-main event. I don't subscribe that it was a 30-27. I actually gave the first round to Belal. Close round. Could even have argued a 10-10 for the first round. But I gave the first round to Belal. Second and third round, definitely Ian's round. He, for me, was the rightful winner. I wouldn't have been screaming robbery if Belal got the fight, but I do think the right person won. Big up to regular Scouse Kid. Cal, do you think Arman will beat Paddy? Yeah, I do. I'm not going to lie to you. I do think he would, you know. I don't think... Look, I'll say this. I think Arman and Ilya are each other's toughest opponent. I think whoever wins that fight goes on to dominate 155 for as long as they stay there. I don't see how you beat one of those two guys. Arman's a big lightweight as well. He's a big lightweight. That's going to be a hard night's work for Ilia Topuria. We're going to really see what Ilya's made of. Because we haven't seen anyone try and really take him down and wrestle him. I think the most we've seen it from Bryce Mitchell. But then he did get the stoppage over Bryce Mitchell. But Bryce Mitchell had him on the ground and was controlling him a little bit. Like, it's a tough... And again, I'm not even sitting there saying that Paddy would get washed by these guys. I just don't think Paddy would beat them. But at the same time, Paddy's proven a lot of people wrong up until now. People said Paddy wouldn't be a Cage Warriors champion. He was. People said Paddy wouldn't get to the UFC. He's in the UFC. People said Paddy wouldn't get into the top 15. People said Paddy wouldn't get into the top 10. People said Paddy wouldn't beat Chandler. Smoke Chandler. People said Paddy wouldn't be in title contention. He's in title contention. So as much as I might say this, Paddy's been proving people wrong for a while now. So yeah, I can sit here and say I don't think Paddy would win. But Paddy could sit there in a couple of years' time and says, I told you, lad. It could do it. Paddy Pimblett has unbreakable self-belief. And that's a dangerous man. Shout out to Liam. He's getting better every fight. He really is. Shout out to Mantis, says, Paddy's jiu-jitsu isn't better than Arman's wrestling, and that's where the fight will be won. I also think Arman's got better striking. I also think Arman might... Here's the thing. We say Paddy can't take a punch. He does. He just shout right on cue, regular Scouse Kid. Scousers don't get knocked out. Everyone says, look, Paddy leaves his chin up in the air. He does do that. Paddy eats punches as well. Like, we ain't seen Paddy get dropped in the UFC, if I'm not mistaken. We saw him in his first debut fight get close to being wobbled. But I'm going to be real. Like, he looks all right. Like, he might be right. And Scousers do get knocked out. Unfortunately, we've seen other Scousers get knocked out. One of my favorite Scousers who fought, Darren Till, got knocked out. So Scousers can get knocked out. He's a human being at the end of the day, but I'm going to be real, man. Paddy could be a real problem. Paddy, Arman, and Topuria could do some real fun things at 155. And again, let's say, and here's the thing. If Arman wins, let's say Arman gets the fight and he beats Topuria, it opens up the division again. Because Charles Oliveira and Arman Tsarukyan, that was a close fight. Tsarukyan and Max Holloway haven't fought each other before. Gaethje, if he gets a win, could be back in the mix. Like, it opens up the division. Like, 55 is starting to now get a little bit of, like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's starting to take a bit of a picture now. Because I'd get worried for 55, I'm going to be honest, guys. I really was, because nothing was happening. And I'll be honest, should I tell you why I think nothing was happening? I think Ilia Topuria wanted to see what happened with Makhachev. Because I still believe if Makhachev had lost the fight, I do think he would have gone back down to 55, and I think he would have made Makhachev versus Topuria. Now he's won the fight at 70. I think he stays at 70. And then I think now you make Topuria versus Arman Tsarukyan. And do you know what? We don't often do this, but we have to call it what it is. When the UFC get it wrong, we call it out. We have to call it out when they get it right as well. A lot of people called for Makhachev to not have to relinquish his 55-pound belt and go up and try and win and be champ, simultaneous champion. Makhachev's made it clear he's not coming back down in weight. So had the UFC allowed Makhachev to keep the belt and then go up and win, and Makhachev turns around and said, look, I'm not going back down in weight, then you're left in a situation where that Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira fight would have been for an interim, and then you'd have just bumped up Ilia Topuria from interim to world champion. I don't think it has the same prestige. Same thing with Tom Aspinall. It didn't have the same prestige when Jones relinquished the belt and Aspinall was upgraded to undisputed champion. Because technically it's still a disputed champion, right? So I'm glad that they vacated the belt. Yes, I do. It would have been nice to see Makhachev get the simultaneous thing, but ultimately, I think we all appreciate that he's a double champ. We all appreciate he was the best lightweight when he moved up, and we all appreciate now he's the welterweight champion. So I don't think it makes a big change. Shout out to A9, says Chanko is the next champion at 155. Hey, I'm going to be real with you. There's a certain Nurmagomedov who might be coming over to the UFC potentially next year. Like, I do think Usman Nurmagomedov is going to be in the UFC sooner rather than later. He's going to be a player at 55 as well. So he could be another name in the mix. He could be another name in the hat. So 55, hopefully in the next year or so, is going to be a really fun division. So I think it's stagnated a little bit this year, if I'm going to be honest. 70 pounds, 170, that's the division. That's the premier division. 185 still very exciting. 205 is, there's not really a challenger there for Pereira that I can kind of pinpoint. Heavyweight division is on the way down at the moment because of how the last fight ended with Aspinall and Gane. Waldo, though, who I'll speak about in a sec, goodness me, he's been on a tear this year. 5 fights, 4 wins. Like, he could potentially be a player at heavyweight and could revive that division. So could another person who's fighting outside the UFC, who we'll speak about as well. Going into the Paramount era, it's looking good, man. It's looking good. If the right fights are made, it's looking good. Big up to Martin. Cal, can you talk about the Hamzat Ian Garry situation? I personally don't find it a big deal, and Garry knew there was a camera and what he was doing. Yeah, Gary's a weird one. Shall I tell you why Gary's a weird one? Because he comes across as, he speaks about everyone, but then he tries to be friends with everyone, and I just don't think it works. I know people who have trained with Ian Garry. I've had nothing but nice things to say about him. A lot of people have had some nice things about Ian Garry to say about Ian Garry. The whole stuff with his wife, I personally think that should have been left out. I don't think people should be speaking about that and and talking about that. I don't think it was necessary. And kind of open the door on that, and then fighters have kind of the lead and continue, which I don't think is the fair thing to do. But at the same time, he can be quite cringy. He can be quite unlikable at times. He can come across as a bit delusional. Like, it was him who was saying he was going to go out there and destroy Belal Muhammad and make it look easy. The fight was anything but easy. He didn't destroy Belal Muhammad. He wasn't even close to getting a knockout or a stoppage. So again, he says these things and then it kind of comes back to bite him. And I know he's got to sell the fight. I know he's got to sell himself to an extent. But ultimately, Ian Garry, he's a brilliant fighter. Say what you want about him. He's a brilliant fighter. High IQ, shot selection and strike selection is excellent. His takedown defense just gets better and better. The only person we've seen give Shavkat real issues in the cage. But we have to have a conversation. Does he deserve the next title shot? I don't know. I really don't know, man. It's hard because we've seen Morales smoke Brady, who was ranked just below Belal. We've seen Prates smoke Leon, who was ranked high at the time. We've now seen Ian Garry win, but Belal's still going to stay high in the rankings. Islam Makhachev is new champion. JDM's there. It's a hard sell to say that Machado Garry gets the next title shot, even though on paper he actually beat the most difficult contender. But Shavkat's still there as well. And I don't know why Shavkat's position has been moved so much low. I mean, I suppose because he's been inactive. Shavkat's there as well. He lost to Shavkat. But for an injury, Shavkat could be champion right now. I do think Shavkat, for me, personally, Shavkat should get the next title shot potentially. But then I've also argued Usman should get the next title shot. I forget about Usman as well. I know people go, well, Usman's only beaten Buckley. I'd arguably say Prates beat... I think Buckley's more dangerous right now than this version of Leon Edwards. And Usman controlled and made that fight look pretty standard. There's a strong argument to say Usman should be in the mix as well. But that's what I'm saying. Run me a little welterweight tournament, people, because I'm down for it. I am down for a welterweight tournament. That could be fun. And we could get a specific outright number one contender. Especially if I think Ramadan falls early in the year, if I'm not mistaken. Any of our Muslim brothers in the chat, Muslim sisters in the chat could tell me when's Ramadan in 2026, please. Because I'm pretty sure that it falls quite early in the year usually. Hence why between sort of March and June, we don't really see Makhachev fight. If that's the case, maybe something can work there. We'll see. We'll see. Orabal versus Jack Hermansson, devastating knockout. Really got to start asking questions about Jack Hermansson now, because that's two back-to-back devastating knockouts. Hard to watch him get knocked out like that as well. Waldo Acosta stopping Gaziev, who looked like he could be making some headway in the division. Waldo Acosta took that fight on like 12 days notice or something like that as well. Came in and got the business done. Horiguchi, love seeing Horiguchi back. And he calls out Pantoja and they train together. That's fun. Oh, man. UFC Qatar, brilliant. Brilliant. You look at Luke Riley, came in. Great knockout win. What a card, man. What a card. Shout out to A9 says Ramadan's in February. So that's what I'm saying. If Ramadan's in February, then between February to, I'd say, May, I wouldn't expect to see Makhachev fight. So you could make fights in that period and then determine another one contender, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens there. Next on the topics to discuss, Conor McGregor, people. Now, Conor McGregor, if people have been following his story, he's had a bit of a spiritual awakening over the last month or so. And look, I'm quite a religious person, so I'd never downplay someone else's religion or religious beliefs. I think that's the last thing anyone should do. And I know it's going to happen with Conor McGregor because of his history, his recent history. Some of the things he's been accused of, some of the things that he's been proven guilty for, the grape charge, for example, his actions in and out the cage over the last few years, his antics on social media, it's hard to believe. But all we can do is take someone on face value and look, people can change. I know it's hard for some, like, to believe it with some people, but ultimately change happens and people can change. And I think people will believe in someone else's change once they see consistency coming from said person. So this is the story of Conor McGregor at the moment. So I'll just share my screen. So according to Conor, shout out to MMA Censored as well for covering this, says, hey guys, I'm back. I was blessed to meet the most forward-thinking doctors from Stanford University and undergo a series of treatments to address trauma. I traveled to Tijuana, Mexico, and underwent an ibogaine treatment at Ambio. Goes on to say, oh no, not that one. There you go. No, sorry, that was the first one. Watch the Netflix documentary just released in War and in Waves and War, and as it is expected, as it is the exact place I went. Sorry, it was incredible, intense, and absolutely eye-opening. I was shown what would have been my death, how soon it was to be, and how it would have impacted my children. I was looking down on myself as it happened, and then I was looking out from the coffin. Then goes on to say, God then came to me in the Holy Trinity. He is mighty. Jesus, his child, Mary, his father, Mary, his mother, and the archangel. Sorry, I don't know what's going on in my reading. Apologies, guys. All present in heaven. I was shown the light. Jesus descended from the white marble steps of heaven and anointed me with a crown. I was saved. Then goes on to say, to God, I am yours. Thank you for bestowing upon me this incredible blessing that I take with great care and absolute seriousness. I live my life per your word and nothing more. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Your great grandson, Conor McGregor. Now, simple question. What do you guys make of that? Because, again, it's difficult to take some of the things Conor says at face value. It really is. But I'm with Martin here. Shout out to Martin. Cool. I judge people by their actions, not words. A9's not buying it, for example. Ash says if he wants to change for the good, then all blessings to him. I'm on Martin's wavelength and Ash's. A9, I understand why you call it BS. I do understand. Shout out to Nozui, big up yourself. Liam says if it improves him as a person, then good. Look, I think Conor McGregor was on a really slippery slope, and if this changes his landscape of his life and he lives a healthy and fruitful life because of this, then I'm over the moon for him. But again, it is about consistency. And here's the thing: we as human beings, now he said this, if he makes any mistake, people are going to, label him with this. And this is where he's going to find it difficult because he still is a human being. He still is going to make mistakes. But again, for me, it's about the consistency, right? It's about the consistency of his behavior, consistency of his actions. And I hope he does. Look, he's got a wife or a wife to be that loves him to bits, is stuck by him through thick and thin. I think he's kind of taken the mick with her loyalty and her love, but she's allowed him to. So who am I to, again, speak about their relationship? I know my relationship isn't perfect. I love my wife to bits. I know she loves me, but trust me, we have our issues, and every other relationship has their issues. But I would never go out and disrespect my wife. I'd never publicly or privately disrespect my wife. And I think he's done that. So he's got to repent for that. He's got to change his actions there. His whole beef with Khabib and all that, what does that look like going forward? Because he said some vile things about Khabib and his family. How does it look with the whole Dustin Poirier situation? What he said about Jolene, his wife, and Dustin Poirier, etc. So again, Conor McGregor's got to look at some of the things he's done in the past, and he's got to think of ways to move forward where those habits and those things don't creep in again. But if this is the start of his journey, I wish him all the best. As a Christian, I wish him all the best, and hopefully he does turn things around. So we will see. Shout out for the super chat from Ash, says UFC heavyweight division could be saucy next year if they can get Gable Steveson and Rico Van Hooven in the mix. It needs it, in my opinion. Ash, you're a legend, because not only just for the super chat, but also for the perfect segue into the last topic. Gable Steveson gets another win, and this time it was devastating, guys. And I'm going to try and be cheeky here and see if I can share the video. I'm going to do it without sound. If I get copyrighted, guys, just know that I don't deserve it. But I'm going to see what I can do. Right, let me share this. Gable Steveson fought for the second time in MMA at the weekend, and this was his devastating KO in the APFC. So again, quite a small cage. Look at that left hook and a takedown at the same time, ground and pound. He is out. Little celebration as well to go with it. I'm going to be real with you guys. Gable Steveson could be the truth. He could be the truth. You look at his wrestling credentials. You look at the fact that he's probably a bit of a shorter heavyweight, similar to what DC was. And Aspinall spoke about this, about DC. He said DC would have been an absolute nightmare for him. This could be the reincarnation of DC. And this could be an even better version of DC potentially as well. Like, let me see how good Gabe Steveson is. Gable Steveson is... Why can't I see how old he is? Age. Gabe Steveson is 25 years old, guys. To put it into context, if I'm not mistaken, DC moved over to MMA or to the UFC when he was in his 30s. Let me just double check that. And you'll call me a age at first UFC fight. Oh, it doesn't say. I want to say Daniel Cormier was in his 30s though. Gabe Stevenson's not even got his man strength yet. Like, this guy could be dangerous. Really dangerous. Like, he's training with John Jones and I think some of the team down there as well. The UFC will be keeping an eye on this. If I'm the PFL, I'd be moving heaven and earth to try and get Gabe Steveson. But at the same time, I think Gabe Steveson knows his name, knows his value. And I think UFC are going to sign him sooner rather than later. I think, in fact, I'll go as far as saying the only thing stopping him signing for the UFC right now is probably him saying he just wants to get a bit more experience on the regional circuit and the MMA circuit. Look at that, Martin. Big up yourself, Martin. DC was age 34 at his UFC debut. So DC was coming out of his prime when he made his debut. Gabe Steveson is going into his prime potentially, and he's not even close to the UFC yet, it seems. I'm gonna be real. If I'm Tom Aspinall, if I'm Cyril Gane, if I'm Waldo, if I'm Pavlovich, if I'm Volkov, I'm looking at this guy thinking, bloody hell, let me get my work done before he comes over. Because he could be the new hybrid heavyweight, wrestling and striking and power, as we can see. And look, maybe I might be going overboard because, with all due respect to the person he fought, we don't know who he is. We don't know his credentials. We don't know how good or bad he is. But come on, man. Like, given the state of the heavyweight division at the moment, he could pretty much walk into the top 10 potentially. Who in the top 10 stops his wrestling? I'll actually bring up the rankings and we'll go through it together. Because I don't know. All right. Let's share this tab. Let's go through the rankings together. So Aspinall I think Aspinall beats this version of Gabe Steveson. Cyril Gane, I'd go Cyril Gane as well, although if Steveson takes him down, it could be a long night. Volkov, I think, would present his most difficult challenge because of the height and the reach. Pavlovich, I think he takes down and beats. Blades would be a tough one. I think he beats Almeida potentially. Waldo could be a tough one, but I think he could beat him. I think he beats Spivak. I love Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis, my guy, but I think he beats Derek Lewis. I think he beats Ante Delija. I think he beats Tabora. I think he beats Gaziev. I think he beats Taitu Ivasa. I think he beats Parkin. I mean, guys, let's just be real about it. Gabe Steveson right now could be a top 7 heavyweight. So A9, you even reckon he beats Gane? That's what I'm saying. Like, I would look, mate. We could be looking back in a year's time, going, guys, we really went early with the whole Gabe Steveson stuff. But as of right now, there's a strong argument to say why. So I'm very intrigued to see what happens. And Rico Van Hooven, I know Rico and Tom Aspinall train a lot. Look, we've seen what Alex Pereira and Israel Adesanya have done coming over from kickboxing. Rico is arguably the greatest kickboxer of all time. If he's been working with Aspinall and he's been working his takedown defense and all those things on the side, that could be ugly for the heavyweight division. Rico Van Hooven, he at the moment, let me find how old Rico is. Rico's 36, so again, quite late to be coming over to the UFC. Even though you can arguably say you can fight later in the heavyweight division because you're not cutting much weight, it's still a lot to ask, though, man. It's still a lot to ask, but he is, you could argue, he's literally one of the greatest kickboxers of all time. You'd say he's a better kickboxer than what Adesanya and Pereira were, and look what them two have done. Adesanya cleaned out a division. Pereira's cleaned out a division. 2-weight world champion Pereira. Adesanya was close to winning a second belt in a different weight class. It's going to be very interesting, man, that heavyweight division. If those two guys come over, we could see a resurgence in the heavyweight division. But people, look, I'm going to wrap up here. I'm going to be live over on Hassam's channel in 20 minutes. So make sure you follow me over there on Hassam's channel, where I'll be back in my dark place speaking about Liverpool. This is my happy place, guys. MMA and combat sports. Later on, I'll be dropping 2 videos. One about Anthony Yard losing to Benavidez and one about MMA Matchmaker Monday. So I'll be looking at UFC's Qatar card and matchmaking some of those next fights. Obviously, the Tsarukyan one's going to be no surprise, but I'll go into a bit more detail. That is a pause, Martin. You're right. That was a pause. Big up yourself. But now, people, please do smash the like button. As I said, I'm on the road to 8,000 subscribers on this channel. I'll actually tell you my subscriber count now because I'm getting close, if I'm not mistaken, and could really do with your help. I want to get there as soon as possible. I did want to get 10K by the end of the year, but I think that's looking like a bit of a stretch. But as of right now, I'm on 7,600 subscribers. So please, guys, if you can, please, let's get the subscribers up over here. Big up to each and every one of you that's watched and listened. Appreciate you all. This has been the Sanderson Show. Man, there you go. Take care, everyone. See you soon.